Hi, this is the Miles Report, and our topic for today is workplace bullying. We're going to talk about three main characteristics of the problem of workplace bullying. We're going to talk about the history of workplace bullying. We're going to talk about the perpetrators of workplace bullying and characteristics of the bullies. And we're also going to talk about the victims and the organizations that are affected by the problem of workplace bullying. So you probably ask yourself, what is workplace bullying? Workplace bullying is an issue of bullying people at work, similar to the schoolyard at school, where employees bully other employees either with a power disparity or a power dynamic. NAMI are researchers and experts in the area of workplace bullying. Workplace bullying has been around either since the Industrial Revolution or prior to that. The issue of workplace bullying is that it affects organizations, and it's actually costly. It also causes organizations to spend money to defend themselves on legal fees and litigation, and also causes absenteeism and also turnover in companies with a high level of attrition. So one of the issues of workplace bullying is some of the statistics say that 2 out of 3 people have experienced workplace bullying in their career. Workplace bullying is characterized by 2 key components. It's characterized by intensity. It's characterized by frequency, and it's also characterized by the power dynamic. And when we talk about power dynamic, the most common type of bullying is power superior to subordinate. That means most likely someone in a superior position, like a boss or a department head or a leader, and a person that's the subordinate is either a regular employee or employee that has no administrative duties, and therefore they are most likely to be bullied, and most likely the characteristics of it will affect them and affect their performance. One of the characteristics that bullies do is they continue to this behavior on a long-term basis, and also, again, one of the characteristics is frequency and power disparity. Bullies know how to work the system. They know how to work under the policy of the organization. Bullies also know when there is a time to not do it and a time to do it. One of the issues of workplace bullying is that it's hard to litigate in court. It's very hard to prove. It's very hard to prove in court, and it's hard to prove it in any hearings. One of the things that bullies do is they know how to circumvent the policy of the organization. Bullies do 2 things. They can either bully using policy, or they can bully without policy. And one of the policies is to particularly an employee that you don't like, you are more frequently interacting with that employee or engaging with that employee that you don't like. And that can come in the form of criticism, highly skeptical behavior, such as frequently using emails, condescending behavior. Another issue is to make the employee do things that you're not making other employees do, like stay late or come in early. The goal is to try to, based on bullies' philosophies, bullies feel that they can do anything as long as they operate within a policy or the organization's bylaws, which is very hard to prove, and it's very hard to say that someone's bullying you. Bullies are very, very strategic in how they know how to do this. They're very clever. Again, they can hide behind policy. If someone asks you to do your job and are rude to you, say it in a condescending manner, some people say that's not considered bullying. Bullying is when you can do that and more. And again, bullies do 3 things. They use a power disparity. They use a power dynamic, and they also hide behind organization's policies. A key thing that bullies do is to find a target. All bullies have a target, and that target happens to be a victim. So we'll talk more about bullies and what they do and some of the things that they do in terms of hurting organizations, some of the characteristics of their behavior, and lastly, how it affects the organizations and victims in the organization.
The Miles Report Confidential Docuseries is a 1-hour weekly docuseries that features topics about business challenges, mysteries, scams, business opportunities, and engaging topics.
Hi, this is the Miles Report. We're going to talk about an interesting topic that's going to be of interest to most people in the business world.
Join us each week The Miles Report Confidential Docuseries.
Let me go over brief personality profiles of some bullies. There are four basic personality profiles of bullies. First is the critic. The critic is the guy who criticizes everything that the employee does and they go overboard. They criticize what the employee does and also they try to discourage the employee to have confidence in anything that they do. That is a critical component of a bullying personality. The second personality profile is the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper he manages information in the organization. He hides information from the victim. He tends to manage information to his advantage. He uses information to give bullies what they want, or not include victims in organizations. Bullies are very, very, very good at gatekeeping, and they're very strong at managing information between themselves and the bullies. Okay, the next one is called screaming memes. This is the bully that shows out at the job. They embarrass the employees. They get into theatrics. They do things that are very, very unprofessional. They yell and scream, and the target is normally the victim. The victim is embarrassed at meetings, embarrassed at company get-togethers. Bullies make jokes about them, and they do that because, one, they feel that they can get away with it. And as they do these things to the victim is humiliated, and the victim is further humiliated and has no confidence in their job abilities. And they also do this in front of a group of people. That's why they call them the screaming memes, because they use theatrics to further bully the victims. And the last one and not least, the last personality profile is the two-headed snake. The two-headed snake usually undermines the bully's confidence, so they try to use the victim to try to get their confidence, and they stab them in the back. The two-headed snake knows how to do this to employees, and it hurts their confidence. Like, they may share intimate moments or information about employees and go share with everyone in the organization to further humiliate the employees. So in other words, that's why they call them a two-headed snake. These are four core personalities that you're going to encounter when you're dealing with bullies at the workplace. And most likely, a bully takes on one of four of these personality profiles. And again, bullies use their power position to bully employees, and they use this to maintain their order of power. So one of the other things that we're going to talk about is, what do bullies do? What's their personality? Why do they do what they do? Bullies are insecure people. Bullies have limited skills, they have limited social skills, and all bullies have a target or have a victim. One of the key things that bullies do in terms of their personality is they recognize talent from their victim or talents from their target. Many bullies lack social graces. They're not good people persons. They lack some type of skill set. A lot of bullies tend to become very jealous of people that are talented in the organization, and they tend to take their revenge out on people that are more talented than themselves. Again, bullies tend to be insecure people, and they tend to be very, very jealous and envious, and they tend to take their power and misuse it against a target or victim who happens to be much more talented than they are, or have much more people that like them in the organization. So bullies take this as a challenge, and they use their personality or their power in the organization to further punish the victims. And they do things like not speak to them, ostracism, tell everyone else not to speak to them. They tend to use their power for bad. Sabotage victims, like not giving them emails or blocking them through emails. Bullies do also things like spread rumors about employees. They tend to do childish things at a more of adult level. Bullies also like to tell other employees about the victim and further sabotage the victim's work. And also, bullies do something that's completely unconscionable, is they steal the victim's work and take credit for it. And many times the bullies use the victim's work as their own without giving them any credit or without giving them any type of accolades for the success that they have. Bullies are very selfish, they're very cunning, and one of the key things that they do is they take their power position and they maintain their power through fear, through threats, and all type of things. One of the other things I lastly mentioned is bullies are notorious for threats. Threats can come in a form of threatening to fire the victim, threatening to suspend the victim through policy. And one of the key things that we talked about earlier is that bullying is also lawsuit proof, and it's very hard to find a key thing when it's any behavior in terms of trying to litigate it with legal means. Victims are very powerless when they deal with bullies. Victims have no recourse. They try to go to HR management, and again, bullies are very, very cunning in how they treat employees that they don't like. But and like I said, the other dynamic is every time there's a bully, there's always a target, always a victim. Those are some of the key characteristics of bullies and what they do at the workplace.
The Miles Report Confidential Docuseries is a 1-hour weekly docuseries that features topics about business challenges, mysteries, scams, business opportunities, and engaging topics.
Hi, this is the Miles Report. We're going to talk about an interesting topic that's going to be of interest to most people in the business world.
Join us each week, the Miles Report Confidential Docuseries.
Okay, we want to talk about the victims and the dynamic of workplace bullying. Why do victims tolerate bullying and what they actually do? Many of the things that victims do when they deal with bullying is they either try to avoid the bully, similar to the schoolyard bully when we were kids. The next thing victims do is either try to ask for a transfer, or lastly, they file a complaint, or they don't do anything. One of the key things here is when bullies file a complaint with the HR department, most of the time the HR departments are not very helpful, and they either enable the bully to keep bullying the victim, or they don't do nothing. And then when the bully finds out that the victim has filed a complaint or grievance with the HR department, the bully increases his intensity against the victim. A lot of victims either quit, or one of the last things that happen to victims is they're terminated. And one of the issues is victims can be terminated, especially if you're in a state like the state of Texas that has at-will employment. You don't have to have a reason to fire anybody, and bullies actually manipulate this to their advantage. One of the key things that victims do is victims either just don't do anything because they don't feel as though there's no one that can help them. So a lot of times when bullies find out victims ask for a transfer, the bullies actually circumvent the system and deny the transfer. And again, bullies are able, and we talked about one of the personality conflicts is the gatekeeper. One of the profiles is the gatekeeper can minimize information to the victim and cause the victim much damage. What are some of the other costs of bullying? Well, victims, because of bullying, there's a high level of absenteeism. Bullies cause victims to go seek therapy or counseling, and that costs the company money. And bullies do not realize, or do they care, that they're costing the company money because they want to act out their miscreant behavior against victims. Another issue that bullies do is they try to deny promotions to the target or to the victim. And again, bullies are very insecure people, and they want to see the victim drown in the company, and they try to further humiliate the victim by either denying them promotion or denying them advancement in the company. And one of the last things that victims do is commit workplace violence. They may come and had enough and come in the office and commit workplace violence. And that could be bringing a gun and shooting people at the office. That could be waiting for the bully to get off of work and shoot the bully or commit some type of act of violence. One of the last things that victims do is commit suicide. Victims commit suicide because their cries for help have been ignored by the HR department and organizations. So what bullies do is drive the victims to commit suicide and make them decide to take their lives, and the harm to their family and to the organization is nothing that you can put into dollars and cents, and that's where the attorneys get involved. And again, the problem with bullies is bullies know how to bully victims within policy or within the realm of policy. So it can be proven that they're ostracizing the victim in some of the things. And when a bully tells the organization not to talk to a victim, that has psychological damage, and that also affects the victim's work performance and also causes the company money through absenteeism, turnover, and also possible litigation. So what have we learned about workplace bullying? Workplace bullying is not a good policy. Workplace bullying harms not only the organization, but also it can affect your customers and your clients, and also the most valuable asset in your company is your employees. So when we talk about bullying, we want to bring attention to this situation as bullying has to stop. And one of the ways organizations can stop bullies or bullying is through policy. Have a no bullying policy or no tolerance of bullying policy. Bullies, when they understand that there's a no tolerance policy, it will minimize bullying to an extent, but it may not solve the problem. So we want to close here by saying, be careful of organizations that enable bullies to function. That is the Miles Report. Thank you for coming and enjoying our show. And our show today was on workplace bullying. And thank you so much.